In episode 9, there was a scene where Pomni opened multiple different doors while being inside Jax's mind. Only there were 2 specific doors that she was unable to get open. With these doors still remaining a mystery throughout the rest of the episode, we were left with the question of what was really inside. So starting with this first door, it turns out we know a lot more than you might think. You see, each and every door around this first one were all connected in a big way. Not only did they all reveal different scenarios involving the circus members abstracting, but they also highlighted Jax's reaction specifically, as obviously each of the scenarios were from Jax's mind. But the first door Pomni opened revealed what Jax's reaction would have been to Ragatha abstracting, showing a more sinister, careless version of himself that acts out in unpredictable ways. The next door revealed Jax's reaction to Zooble abstracting, which seemed to have much less of an impact on him, as this scenario showed him acting a lot less animalistic. This time he's shown in a maid outfit, trying to get particularly close with Gangle in ways I can't fully explain in this video. Only our final door Pomni opens shows the exact opposite, with Gangle being the one to abstract in this scenario. For some reason, Jax is shown taking a more cartoony antagonist role here, as on top of being responsible for Gangle's abstraction in the first place, he's also shown leading Zooble into a trap shortly after. Only along with these first 3 scenarios, there was one more nearby that was blocked off, our first mystery door. So what was actually in this first door? Well, what if I told you that on top of it, definitively involving a scenario where Pomni abstracts, we also know Jax's reaction to this scenario, as we've seen him change and react in drastically different ways in all of the other abstraction scenarios. But how do we know all of this? Well, we've already seen, based on the pattern that the first 3 doors set up, how every door in this first hallway showed us the aftermath of a different character abstracting, which left us with 2 remaining possibilities for the final mystery door, Pomni and Kinger. And we know in the case of Kinger that there were 2 specific reasons laid out for us that disproved his involvement here, with the first being the fact that Jax and Kinger are almost never shown interacting in any of the previous episodes. Out of all the characters, Kinger is clearly the one he's the least close with, meaning he likely wouldn't have any extreme view of Kinger one way or another. If anything, he seems to be the one character Jax typically doesn't mess around with, leading to the idea that Jax wouldn't particularly care if Kinger did abstract, at least compared with the other characters. Only our second reason went along with what we were actually told by the show's creator herself, Gooseworks. You see, a while ago, a fan of the show specifically asked her who the closest member of the circus was to going insane, essentially abstracting outside of Kinger, to which she told us how this character is someone we wouldn't suspect. While we now know that this character ended up being Jax all along, Kinger was essentially disregarded here because he's already been portrayed to be so crazy that he's essentially immune to abstraction. He's been in the circus the longest, watching his wife and nearly all of his friends come and go, while still remaining level-headed enough to continue on in the digital circus. Which is why Jax wouldn't have bothered considering a scenario where Kinger abstracts in the first place, as Kinger simply wouldn't be capable of it. But if we're left with Pomni's abstraction being behind this mystery door after all, what would Jax's specific reaction be? Well, it turns out Jax actually partially revealed exactly that in a specific scene earlier on in the show. You see, in episode 6, Pomni asks Jax what he would do if she actually abstracted after they got into a big argument, to which we see Jax's pupils change in a strange way, matching the same animalistic look we saw in the scenario where Ragatha abstracted. He goes on to say, "I'd move on and probably forget about you," something we know is obviously a lie based on his previous tendency to push away the people that mean the most to him. Either way, we're shown here how Jax was made to think about Pomni abstracting before Pomni was able to access this secret door in the first place. As we're told, I think it's not shown because that scenario is so suppressed. It was so traumatic for Jax that in the situation where Pomni abstracts, he would end up not being able to handle it. Another way to see it, the door is heavily locked because it's holding an abstracted Jax and an abstracted Pomni. If Pomni abstracted, Jax would feel so awful he would immediately be next. He wouldn't be able to stand it. But how do we know for sure an abstracted Jax would be behind this door? Well, before getting to that, we were also told the truth about our second secret door. You see, not only was this door completely separate from the other ones, meaning it was unlikely to be another abstraction scenario, but it was also the most repressed and important door of all. On top of the imaginary Jaxes showing an intense resentment towards whatever was inside, this door had even more chains and locks on it than the first mystery door. But what part of himself would Jax be trying so hard to keep a secret here, and why? Well, it turns out the show's creator Gooseworks actually revealed more for us, as she gave us another secret about Jax that changed everything we thought we knew towards this door. In a recent post, she confirmed the high likelihood of Jax secretly being trans, as there were also many little clues and details throughout the show that backed up this idea. On top of Jax's room being a more traditionally girly room for a reason that's never really explained, there was a specific scene in episode 9 where we saw Ribbit put her bow tie on Jax, only she placed it on his head in a way that again went along with a more traditionally girly look, and in response we see Jax blush. But what would all of this have to do with the previously mentioned secret door from earlier? Well, we already know how whatever was inside represented a part of Jax that he desperately wanted to keep hidden. But it turns out this wasn't the only time we've seen this sort of resentful emotion from Jax. It came out a second time earlier on during the same exact bow tie scene from before. You see, after Kaufmo interrupted Jax and Ribbit during this scene, Jax was quick to throw the bow tie off of his head in resentment, clearly not wanting anyone else to see that side of him. I think the version of Jax behind the locked door is likely his perception of a more feminine version of himself that he pretends doesn't actually exist, hence the crazy reaction from the other three versions at the table and it literally being locked away. Also, notably, it's locked away separate from the no girls allowed room. Only going back to our first mystery door, we know an abstracted Jax is likely inside due to the fact that even before the scenario of his last remaining friend in the circus abstracting, Pomni, Jax was already on the verge of abstraction regardless. With multiple panic attack scenes and close calls in past episodes, we know Pomni's abstraction would likely be the final straw for Jax. An abstracted Jax being behind this door would also partially explain why it's been locked up in the first place, as in the case of any circus member abstracting, we know there needs to be a proper containment in order to prevent the abstracted being from causing chaos. But with episode 9 finally wrapping up, it turns out we're actually told of more to potentially be expecting for the digital circus. You see, on top of rumors for more episodes of the show being spread around lately, we're also told of more bonus content that many people didn't know about. But how do we know for sure to be expecting new episodes and content for the show after episode 9? Well, it turns out I'm able to put together everything we're told about the situation for you early into this video right here. So for what we know towards the digital circus, make sure to check it out.